All right, welcome everybody to a special episode of the TBD Pod. Today we are going to do a discussion about the District 5 election. And today are the two candidates that have made the runoff. So a quick background, Tampa City Council has 7 members. One of the members that represented District 5 unfortunately passed away, Gwendolyn Henderson. And so there is a special election to take her place. And so the general election is over. There were 14 candidates. Now there are 2. Those 2 are in front of me today, Naya Young and Tom Scott. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun today. Thanks for being here. And so people know the runoff election is October 28th. Early voting is October 23rd to 26th. So if you live in District 5, please go out and vote. We've got the map here in front of us, and it is a very large area and very diverse area. We're going to talk about that today. But just so people know, it's parts of Tampa Heights, areas of West Tampa, North Hyde Park, Channelside, Water Street, Ybor City. What is this? East, all of East Tampa, Sulphur Springs, the Port area, Palmetto Beach. So if you're just listening, you can type in District 5. You can probably find it on the city's website pretty easily, or votehillsborough.gov.
Yeah, and you can also, there's a tool that lets you put your address in to see what district that you're in, to see if you're in District 5.
Super helpful. Yeah, because the lines are they get a little squiggly at certain points. So be aware of that. If you live in District 5, please get out and vote, everybody. It is super, super important. We have 5 topics to talk about. The candidates at the exact same time receive those topics. The topics are affordable housing, gentrification, the diversity of District 5, 4 votes to approve anything on council, and historic preservation. We will go candidate by candidate to talk about these topics and have a discussion. I'll chime in as little as possible. Feel free to sort of have a soft debate, take it however you want, but I will guide the conversation through. So let's start with ladies first. Naya, I'll start with you. The first topic is affordable housing, and I'll give a little bit of background here. So about 10 years ago, I noticed a surging demand for this city. You started to see some really interesting concepts, some homegrown businesses. People from the East Coast of Florida started to sort of move here, people from the Northeast and the West Coast. About 5 years ago, COVID time, things really amplified, and we have had an unprecedented demand to live here since then. With that demand puts pressure on our housing supply, and we've seen this really is a citywide issue here. Probably 100+% price escalations in 5 years. All the above, right? So my question to you, Naya, how do you see Tampa addressing the growing demand for affordable housing as supply struggles to keep up?
We need different types of housing. I think that's where we're kind of falling short. We're seeing a lot of either townhome or McMansions, but there's nothing like in between, in the middle. We need different types of housing, different options for people. Maybe it's a 3-2, maybe it's a 2-1. We have tiny home communities. There's duplexes. There's quads. There's options, right? And so how do we make sure that we are having options for people who are at different income levels? And I think that's how we can have more housing, but also more affordable housing. So we're meeting everybody versus it's not just one end of the spectrum or the other. There's people in the middle there too that need housing. So that's how I think we can address it. It's just, we need more options. And there's plenty of examples just in the city that we have these different options. I did a missing middle tour in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And it's a great example. It's a little bit pricey on that end, but they have a lot of different types of housing in the area. And also the housing fits within the character of the neighborhood, right? So I think that's how we can help to fix that demand, just having different options for people that are at different levels.
Sure. Tom?
Well, let me just say that my experience on county commission has helped me to understand the whole issue of affordable housing. Back in 2004 and 5, I pulled together as a county commission the Affordable Housing Task Force for Hillsborough County, rewrote the whole ordinance and policy that addressed affordable housing. At that time in 2005, we were looking at $200,000, in terms of housing. Today, you're talking, almost $400,000 in terms of housing, which is very expensive. And for a person who may live in East Tampa, who's working at minimum wage, that will not suffice. That's not enough to address the issue of housing at all. And yes, there are different kinds of units that we need. You can talk about duplex, you can talk about quadplex, you can talk about attainable housing. All those are issues very important. Housing is a national issue, not just for Tampa. It's a national issue. Okay, Tampa right now, because I served on the advisory, housing advisory, also for the mayor when she her first term, appointed this advisory committee to look at housing, affordable housing, and there was the goal of 10,000 units. Now, according to the mayor, they have met that goal at 6,000, which means in her turn, they got 2 more years to try to come up with additional 4,000 units in terms of affordable housing. Okay. However, there's 20,000 people that's on the list now for housing.
20,000?
20,000. There are 20,000 people waiting for housing right now. So we're way behind in terms of that. So what we have to do is look at different models of housing, but also we got to look at how do we incentivize a person who's making minimum wage cannot afford a $300,000 home. So you got to look at ways to how do we incentivize down payment assistance. Today, right now, you can get up to $100,000 down payment through the city of Tampa, through the CRA, which is Community Redevelopment Area, and then another $50,000 through the housing program through the city, which is federally funded. So you can get up to $100,000, but even that's not enough now to address the issue of affordable housing. So there's a lot of work to be done, but yet it's a national crisis. And already we know that we got 20,000 people waiting in terms of housing.
Thank you for that. I screwed this up. I didn't give a chance for you each to introduce yourselves and tell the folks about you. And that's my fault. It's my first time doing something like this. So let's take a quick pause, and Naya, I'll let you go first and just tell people who you are and sort of why you're running for council.
Okay. Well, good morning. Naya Young here, candidate for Tampa City Council District 5. I graduate from Middleton High School, went to USF for my bachelor's in communication, went away for school, went to Howard University for my master's in political science, came back home, started working for my family's nonprofit where I've been at for the past 8 years now, Tampa Heights Junior Civic Association. Also went to UT, got a nonprofit management certification. I've done all different types of work, but mainly in just like community work, public service. When I was in in DC, I worked on a federal grant that came actually out of the Obama administration for community policing. I've also worked with the National Urban League, did some work on the Green Artery when I was in my early 20s. Also did some work with passing a bill for diabetes awareness with police officers knowing that when someone has diabetes. And I also did some consulting work, community engagement consulting work, where I work with the city and the county. And yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Well, Thomas Scott, and I live in East Tampa, particularly Jackson Heights area, for the last 45 years. I pastor a church there, 34th Street Church of God, and we have been successful at moving that church and building that church, a brand new campus, growing that church, building a school that went up to 5th grade, and also building a CDC, Community Development Corporation, which we still do operate through the church, helping poor and disadvantaged families and people in the Belmont Heights area. In 1996, I ran for county commissioner and won by 86 votes, believe it or not, in 1996. And I went on to serve on the county commission 10 years as a county commission for District 3. District 3 in the county also encompasses City Council District 5. So I had the opportunity to represent District 5 as a county commissioner as well, and served 3 terms as chairman of the Board of County Commission, which means my peers and my colleagues elected me to lead them and to set the agenda for the county commission for 3 terms. Then I went over to city council from 2007 to 2011, and I served 1 term and served 3 terms as chairman of Tampa City Council, elected again by my peers and my colleagues to lead and set the agenda for Tampa City Council. And so I have a wealth of experience from the legislative side. We bring a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight, and my experience has taught me that what we need now in terms of Tampa, one is I believe that we need to look at a citizen academy. That's part of the thing I'm going to do, would like to do with the other city council. That citizen academy is to teach them about city government, how to assess it and how it operates and functions. That's the number one thing. Secondly is to bring city government, city council into the community so that people don't have to come downtown and get a ticket and trying to find parking, but be right there in the community with the citizens. And thirdly, then look at also our share, District 5, the revenue, the budget, bringing that into East Tampa to address affordable housing, to address infrastructure, sidewalks, recreation for youth and young people, to address the whole issue of retention ponds. You might know in East Tampa out of control and need a lot of work done to it. And so those things we're going to focus on should we be elected to go back to represent the citizens of District 5 East Tampa.
Thank you for that. All right, slight little deviation there. Okay, back to affordable housing. I want to really dial in on some policies here. There is increasingly, it's hard to say if it's anti-affordable housing policy, although I guess it directly is when Hillsborough County government slashes the affordable housing fund, which was recent news, I guess, in the last few months. $10 million fund. I think it's been slashed to nothing or $1 million. $2 million. Okay. $2 million. There's also a argument that has been brewing, and Tom, you mentioned this, how it is an affordable issue across the country. It's not specific to District 5 or this city, but it is a real issue we deal with.
Right.
So there's the argument between the private sector, right, providing the housing versus government-funded programs. Now, I think we all recognize a good mix of both is necessary to sort of get what we need done. But Naya, I want to bring it back to you. You mentioned missing middle, and you mentioned sort of diversity of housing types. What are your thoughts on the policy level increasing housing supply, right? Right now, Tampa's redefining its land development code, and the Planning Commission is redoing the future land use section of the comprehensive plan.
That's right.
Now is an opportunity to increase entitlement so that more housing supply can be built across the city and specifically in District 5. Tell me your thoughts on, does the private sector need to step up here exclusively? Is it government? Do we need a larger housing fund for more down payment assistance for people? Should the city take on building housing units? What are your thoughts there?
I think it's a mixture of all. One of the things I talk about always is collaborative efforts and collaboration, because no one arm or one person can do everything. And like Scott was saying, this is a national issue. Everyone is having issues with housing. It's no one person can do. The city can't do everything. The county can't do everything. But what we can do is work collaboratively so that we can address the issue. That's when your CBAs come in. That's when your incentives come in. If you're going to build in this area, let's make it mixed use. Let's have more housing that can fit different income types. It's not no one person can do everything. I think we're really going to have to work together so that we can address the issue, because it's going to stay an issue if we don't work together. And I think that that's one way that we can do it.
Awesome. Tom?
Yeah, you need to understand that we have partnerships now, SHIP program that we have. There's dollars come in for that, as well as from federal funding. from the Housing Administration from D.C. So there's money coming in now for affordable housing. That's why a person can get up to $50,000 in terms of the federal program through the city, and another $50,000 if you live in a CRA, community redevelopment area. So there's partnership now. Also, keep in mind too, all of the there are 8 CRAs within the city of Tampa, the 8 community redevelopment areas. Now they put together a policy to address that 30% of the funds go towards affordable housing. All right. Also, there are 15,000 new units that are being planned for Channel Side. 15,000. I think it's 7,000 in Ybor City, and so those plans have to incorporate and involve affordable housing. Whether it be now, some of them don't meet the need. Let me explain by this. In Channel Side, the 80% AMI, they're going to do 80, 125, and 140 of AMI, area medium income. Well, that doesn't get low enough for those who may need 30% or 40%. And so we got to look at a way how to address that issue because, again, as I said earlier, if you're making minimum wage, even an apartment today, you're looking at $1,800 probably for a 1-bedroom apartment. So therefore, it has to be a continual partnership with city government, state government, and the federal government, help funding these needs so that we can make sure that people in the low income, underserved community have housing. Otherwise, we're going to have a huge problem, even now we do have it, of homelessness.
Let's dial in. Last thing on affordable housing here related to supply. Keep it as brief as possible. Naya, I'll start with you. We've seen some projects, medium size, small size, come before council, come before the CRA, and you will be on the CRA as well, that try to increase the density. As example, there could be a particular neighborhood that's a single family home. A developer comes in and says, I want to build 2 or 4 units here. Do you support increasing density in areas around East Tampa?
In the areas that want density, yes. Because there are some areas that don't necessarily want it. But in the areas that do want density, and I think East Tampa is one of those areas that wants the density, then yeah. And as long as it is in an area that wants the density and whatever the character or the uniqueness of that community that you stay within that. I've been hearing and seeing, just if you drive, you'll see, historic. I don't know what that is. Historic, right? And that means something to communities. So as long as you're staying within, what the community the characteristics are, and it's in an area that wants the density, then yes.
Got it. So feedback driven, sort of.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it. Tom?
Well, the comprehensive
plan. Do you go by Tom, by the way? I'm sorry.
Tom is fine.
Tom.
The comprehensive plan speaks to density. And that's what they're going through right now. I think there's another meeting coming up sometime later this year, I think November, something like that. But either way, the comprehensive plan speaks to the density, so which now the public has an opportunity to speak to and have input on what they want that density to be. And so when rezoning is coming before city council, then staff will give recommendation as to approve or disapprove based on the density of that area and the overlay of that area. And so they have to meet certain requirements and certain standards in order to qualify in terms of building. Also, that goes to historical district in terms of overlay too.
It's obviously a case-by-case basis sort of thing, but you do see where developers come to pitch a project that might be in line with the plan, but a large group of residents oppose it, and so council denies it, right? So a lot of it really is sort of project by project, right? Let's move on to the next topic, gentrification. This is a big one in particular for this district because there's been long established businesses in this area that have been pushed out by price escalations. part of that is the natural order of the demand of our area. We get Tom Brady and the Lightning and all these exciting things happen. We're on this national stage. And so when people consider moving their home or their business, Tampa is an option.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they've came here and they've put demand pressure on us. Ybor has this big conversation right now about this specifically, where new ownership comes in, the rents escalate, and the business that's been there 20 years has to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Demand will lead to more development too. Let's of course not pretend that somehow this will stop. I think we all recognize that over decades to come, people are going to be moving here and it's going to put more pressure on us. So, Tom, we'll start with you on this one. So what are your thoughts on gentrification and its impact on residents and businesses being pushed out by rising prices? How can we sort of mitigate that?
Well, primarily gentrification is taking place primarily in East Tampa. Okay, I mean we need to realize that's where a lot of development is going on, a lot of where people are trying to come in and that sort of thing. Gentrification, again, we got to probably define it from this standpoint that this is where neighborhood has been underserved, undeveloped, and developers come in and redevelop that area, which then sends the prices high, send the prices up. And so therefore you're forcing out those residents who once lived there or who are there cannot afford either the tax base because it's gone up now. They cannot afford the food prices because you redevelop and now you got new stores in there and all of that. And so what we have to do is make sure, number one, we protect those residents that are living there now, to make sure that we take care of them and that they're able to continue to live in their homes, whether it be tax breaks, tax incentives, some type of incentives that will help those residents that are there now. Otherwise, you're going to have poor people, underserved people, people who've been in their house for 30 or 40 years now being forced out because of redevelopment, which means, again, and it's needed, redevelopment is needed to bring the current neighborhood area up. But also we got to protect and make sure that those persons who are making minimum wage, those persons who've been there for years, are not forced out, not pushed out. We have to find a way how to incentivize or give them some type of assistance that they can stay in their home.
Got it, Miss Naya?
I think one of the keys is home ownership, specifically like Bishop Scott was saying. You have residents that are already in their homes that are struggling to keep their homes. Especially like we have a lot of seniors that are living in their houses, and some of them are, they're either living by themselves. I met with a woman who she has her home, and she was like, well, I barely used the kitchen. I was barely walking back and forth, so I just converted it and rented the front part. And she's been in the house that she's in, she was born in that house.
Wow.
Right. So imagine how many more seniors or maybe elderly or people we have that have houses that they would like to maybe turn into a duplex or add an ADU so they can stay into their home. You may have a family that maybe lives in East Tampa or in Sulphur Springs that wants to stay there but can't necessarily afford to purchase a home right now, but they can still stay in the community because someone has converted a space or added a space to their home, but to now where you can live. So I think that's one of the keys is home ownership, but helping those that already live in their homes to stay in their homes. You mentioned earlier about with COVID, how we had like these skyrocketing housing prices. I live in Tampa Heights, and I remember there was a home in our neighborhood that the grandmother or something had passed away, and the house that the children had the home. It was a lot of upkeep, just it was a 2-story brick house, beautiful, and just trying to maintain it. It was too much for them, and so they ended up selling it, I think, for maybe like 200 something. That house just sold for almost $900,000. And so I think so home ownership, helping people to stay in their homes. The woman I was talking about earlier, she was born in the house. She's almost 80 years old. Someone has been paying taxes on that house for a long time. So like we were saying, some type of incentive or something to keep those a community in their houses so they're not pushed out, so they don't have to leave. And I think also having more, again, mixed use or mixed use spaces, or that has housing at the top, commercial spaces at the bottom. You can have either a small space or a bigger space, so you have small businesses or entrepreneurs that can use the spaces, but they can still stay in the community. It's not that you're not priced out. Yeah.
Tom, anything to add?
Well, I think we know that developers make money. That's what it's. I mean, we might well face it. That's what it's about. I think the other side of it is making sure that when developers come in, that we in the development agreement we put some language in there that said that they will have to build so many affordable housing units for people to be able to maintain. That's the development agreement that the city does with developers that come in, that they give so many units towards. Again, going back to CRA for the channel side, they have to give so many units. 30, I think it's 30% again for channel side, 30% for East Tampa just went up to 46%. Okay, in terms of affordable housing. Other areas are 30%. I think Tampa Heights, though, 74% of their money is going towards the developer, so they don't have as much towards housing.
On this note as well, there's been articles over the last 5 years, David and I were looking at before, and we talked about it on the last show. Wages have not caught up with the price level. And that's a large part of gentrification too, because if you're making good money and you can afford to stay, hey, you'll stay. Let's bring it back to you, Naya, on gentrification. How can we support small businesses or people making enough money to sustain themselves in their own neighborhood?
So we mentioned, I think one, we can have, but for specifics, so if we're talking about, areas that have CRAs, there are, maybe there are funding or grants or loans or things that can come out of CRA, because it's slum. I hate the word slum and blight. I really do hate those words. But maybe there is some type of funding that we can get out of CRAs to help those small businesses, so that they can stay in the areas. I did some work in the Sulphur Springs area, and we just spent the day just, researching all of the, entrepreneurs or small businesses in the area. And there's so many of them. There's so many small businesses and entrepreneurs in the area that just need assistance. How do, if I have a storefront, how do I maintain it? If I have my books, but how do I, balance them? How do I get the paperwork that I need so that I can apply for the grants that are coming either from the county or from the city? Just having someone just to walk them through the initial process to get their business up and running, to get a storefront if they want one, or to make sure that they have a legitimate business. So I think there are ways that we can do that, and that we can, bring those businesses in, so that we don't have to necessarily have people from other places come and have a business. There are so many people here that have really great business, but just need someone to help them and walk them through the process and make sure and give them the opportunity.
I think the city needs to create a department to address the issue for small businesses. There are a lot of people that does not know what is available now. They have not been educated. So I would say the city need to create a department strictly for addressing the issue of small businesses, in particular in terms of gentrification and underserved communities. And so when you have a staff there, they will have all the information, and we can help those businesses continue to function, stay in place, have resources for them, so that they can, and then also part of the gentrification process, we're talking about redevelopment, is also make sure that is a part of that plan, agreement, that money or revenues, some sort is given towards that to help those small businesses as well. Just like we demand so many affordable housing unit, we can do likewise for small businesses. Put that in the agreement that they will have some type of assistance, incentivized assistance, and all that sort of thing, so that they can maintain that mom and pop store that's been there for years, and so we don't have to, so they don't have to be forced out. And that's part of the gentrification process many times, where they are forced out because they cannot afford to continue to operate their mom and pop stores and businesses.
And Naya, I heard you agreeing with that department. You would support some sort of a new department.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too, because we know, we have our city staff that does great work. And we know that maybe creating another department may put more demand on staff, which, it is a possibility. So one of my platforms is youth always. How does youth tie into this? And youth is not just elementary, middle, and high school. Youth is all the way up to like 35, in my opinion. You have so many, you have a university. We have the University of South Florida, and right, with thousands of students, business students. And this is, I'm the type of person, I'm just going to reach for the stars. We're going to put it out there and see if it works. But what does it look like to maybe have some type of partnership or program or something with the university where you have students, they get their 5 or 10 small businesses or mom and pops or local businesses, and they work with those businesses to get them up to par. But, that they have all their paperwork, that, maybe you have a business and accounting student that works with 5 small businesses, for 8 weeks, that's their class project. And they help that business to get on track so that they have everything that they need so that they can continue to succeed. I had the opportunity to go to a Career Source had like a ceremony where, it was at the end of the program. So they were honoring all the students that went through the program, and a lot of the students, they could not be there, but it's because they were in full-time jobs, and they were either, with some, data, working at the hospital, working at an engineering firm. We are the 7th largest school district. That's a lot of children. And then we also have a university with students that are coming out of college looking for work, wanting to give back to their community. Why are we not engaging them? We have these issues. Oh, we need help with the small businesses. You have thousands of students that are going to school specifically for accounting and business that want to help their communities. Why are we not engaging them? And then, of course, there's the charters and all these things. Great, fantastic. However, like I was saying from the beginning, no one arm or one leg can do everything. We're in a space now where there are even cuts coming from national levels that we can't do anything about. So we have no other choice but to try and engage and use the resources that are around us so that we can continue to uplift communities and make sure people are not getting pushed out. Make sure that gentrification, that you've had a business in this area, you're small, mom and pop for 30 years, and now all of a sudden you can't be there because you don't have the right paperwork. That doesn't make any sense.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com.
Well, let me just back up and say this, that I've been working with Dr. Atwater at East HCC, Hillsborough Community College, where we have...
Yes, and HCC. I went to HCC, so yes, I don't want to...
Yeah, Hillsborough Community College, where we work with him to establish a program to address those kids, young people, should I say, that do not want to go to a 4-year institution, but they can go to a 2-year institution and get some type of trade. So we have already where there are several programs that they can get involved into. One is linemen's for TICO. They can go to HCC for an 8-week program, and TICO will pay for that. and they would start immediately making $65,000-$70,000. Okay, now a year. Welders, also same 8 to 10 week training, and they can come out, doing welding, and all, like some guys have started their own welding company business. Automobile mechanics, auto repair. So those exist right now as a result of my working with Dr. Atwater at Hillsborough Community College. Now, also, we got the University of Tampa, University of South Florida, but a lot of the students are coming in from other areas, other cities. Majority of them. We have some that from here as well. And so you can use them as interns, okay, like you do now at City Council. We use interns. When I was on county commission, when I was on city council, we used interns to come in and help the office. In fact, I was down last week. They had an intern there, so you can have interns come in to work in those areas and help those small businesses, which can also go through the city department, to help small business. They can register and then get them plugged into small businesses to help them.
Let me ask you
Can
both.
I add something?
Absolutely.
If we have any HCC or UT alumni, I love you all. I went to HCC, UT, and USF. So I just mentioned
wow.
USF because it was at the forefront of my mind.
You did it all.
I did it all.
Well, I think you're both correct in really saying that the talent pool is here.
Yes.
I mean, we have these kids that come here, whether it's from across the country, around the world, or that are from here, that go to these schools and graduate. There's your talent pool
Absolutely.
right there. And then to continue on that specific policy question, Naya, I'll go back to you. And you touched on this a little bit. The language of the CRA, slum and blight, okay, that can be taken a few different ways. And I know it's been turned and twisted to try to justify certain payments, et cetera. From a policy standpoint, you talked about some sort of a fund for small business. So to ask you the question directly, and then I'll go to you, Tom, do you support through the CRA direct grant money from CRA funds for homegrown small businesses in East Tampa?
I would say so, yeah. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
And then to add to that, at a larger level than it has been, I think the emphasis now, and I might be wrong, but it seems like it's on real estate development projects. It seems, as an example, there's I can think of 2 projects that one of them got $5 million, one of them got $3.5 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's many, many millions of dollars for 2 projects. And when you're talking about a singular pool of money, you start handing out $100,000 grants, that can help a lot more small businesses rather than 2 projects. So is your position to amplify more grant money towards small businesses?
I say it's options. Like instead of just we have identified what the needs are in the area, and we're specifically talking about East Tampa just because we know they have a CRA. But we've identified what the areas of need are. And again, no one arm or one person can do everything. So we need to look at all of our cards. What do we have? What don't we have? Where can we fill in the gaps? We have this pot of money here that's doing this and this, but we also have this issue here. Can we possibly do something else to help so that we can do more and help more people? So I would say it's just, for me, it's we need to look at all the cards. We need to look at everything that we have available to us and what can we do so that we can help the most people, because people are having issues right now. So what can we do to help the most people right now?
And then Tom, do you support a specific policy that would appropriate more grant money towards small businesses versus development projects?
The Florida statute uses the language slum and blight. Okay, let me be clear on that. That's a state law, from Florida, from the state law of Florida. Secondly, currently there are monies now in CRA for small business. When I was on, because I drew the boundaries and started the CRA for East Tampa, drew the boundaries, put in place the CAC, the Citizen Advisory Committee. They had the power to grant money to small businesses. They had the power to determine how much money was going to affordable housing. they had the power to determine how much money would go to developers. Okay. Now, subsequent, I understand that has changed. So what I would like to do is go back, make sure we go back to the Citizen Advisory Committee, make sure that's in place. Because now what you have is people who, when I was there, the Citizen Advisory Committee were people who lived in East Tampa, who were part of East Tampa, and who had a say-so in their future. Okay. My understanding that is not the case now. So I would say we go back to that because money was already set aside and available for small businesses when I was there. I think at that time it was like up to like $100,000 they could get. So that might be changed now because again, it's been taken away from that Citizen Advisory Committee. But when I was there before, they could get grant money. That was grant because I approved it. I was on the board at that time. In 2007, 2011, there were those who came in recommendation through the CAC, and we gave them grant money for small businesses.
From a policy perspective on small businesses too, there's so many roadblocks to get going. Obviously, capital, right? Money is the biggest roadblock for people. And like you said, Naya, there's so many people in the community that have great ideas. They just need a little help to get rolling. One of the issues in the city that I get emails about constantly is some of there's sort of like nitpicky stuff that happens with small businesses. Hey, your door is not supposed to swing out, it's supposed to swing in or whatever, right? Small stuff like that. Tom, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Naya. Do you support policies that cut red tape for small business in the city?
We need to streamline government processes. Okay. I'm not an advocate for a lot of government stuff, but I believe we need to streamline and make it easier for small businesses, affordable housing units. Right now, I think the department is behind, and there's so many hurdles and hoop people got to jump through that they got to back up now. I think they back up a year right now. I think the permitting department is behind by a year. So you got to streamline a lot of these regulations so that people can get in there and get what need to be done and stop nitpicking small businesses and affordable housing so that they can move forward. And so, yes, I would support that. Oh, my God, yes. Some of this stuff don't even make sense, man. You come out and you find me because the door swing out instead of in.
Sure.
And then I got to turn around and spend more money to try to fix that problem. That don't make sense.
And let's be clear, that absolutely is a pressure on gentrification too, because if the people that are in small businesses can't get rolling, you're going to have people with money come in from different areas. They'll, they can move past all that. Naya.
No, I would 100% agree. Streamlining the process and removing the red tape. Again, going back to, you have seniors who have homes or maybe have property where they want to, either, turn their home into a duplex, or they want to, add, some units on there, just affordable units, but they have to go through so many hurdles just to do that. And like I'm saying, we have issues right now. People need help right now. It's costly to have to keep going back, doing this, doing that. I mean, it takes so much time. If you have someone who says, look, I don't even use my house that much, I just want to do this, have some, have a family. That's one family we can help. Oh, I have this land that, I'm just, here, we can do whatever. I can, put 4 apartments on there. That's 4 families, or that's, 4 people that we can help. But the process takes so long. It takes so long. I mean, why does it take so long to do a good thing? We have to streamline the processes and removing that red tape. Yeah.
100%. That to me is one of the largest issues, and it's really not just District 5, it's citywide. How do people that were born here stay competitive as these demand pressures increase? With that, let's move on to the next topic, which is the diversity of District 5. So like we said in the beginning, I mean, this is Ybor, which is so much history, old architecture, older buildings, but then you've got Water Street. So you've got this diversity in architecture and history. You've got a huge diversity in income level. The wealthiest people in the region live in this district, along with the least fortunate people. So we'll go back to Naya to start with this. How can District 5 better represent its diversity related to all these areas, especially when you compare areas like Water Street to East Tampa?
One, I think investing in public spaces where people can gather, generally all different people. And I think also the transportation, because you have better connectivity so that you can go to the different areas. Like you were saying, you have Ybor that has, great, history. And just, as I've been on this campaign going around to the different areas, because District 5 is so large, but I think that's what makes it so unique and so cool, because you have, I mean, it's so diverse, and you have so many different people in so many different areas. And I've just kind of been driving around and exploring all the different areas, and I'm like, man, I remember a couple years ago, the first time when I rode the trolley, and I'm like, man, imagine if you could take this from one end all the way to the next. My husband and I, we love, New Orleans. You get on New Orleans, you can get on that trolley, and it'll take you you could just ride on it and just be like, oh, this looks cool. Let me get out and see what's here. So having the transportation so that people can go and explore the different areas, to have better connectivity, and then having just public spaces where people can go that are within the areas. I can take the trolley to this park over here, this park here, to this gathering space here. That's how we connect people. And then also it's how I think it's how we bridge that gap to where it's not just Channel Side, it's not just Water Street, it's not just Ybor. We are District 5. We are every East Tampa, Sulphur Springs, Temple Crest, Channel Side. We are District 5. And so how do we bridge that gap and we bring people together, having places where everybody can go within the district, and also how you travel there. We can take different ways to get there. We have the Green Artery, which is a green space that's 20 neighborhoods over 22 miles of green space where you could safe, walkable, bikeable, scooterable, so that you can go to different areas within the district.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like everybody uses parks and transportation.
Exactly.
Even if you don't use transportation, someone else will, getting cars off the road.
Exactly.
We used to have 50 miles of track here in Tampa. My grandfather told me he used to ride it from, he was up in Seminole Heights all the way down to Ballast Point.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
Tom, let's go to you on the diversity of District 5. How do you plan to represent that diversity?
Well, let me just say that the city is divided up into 4 single-member districts evenly in terms of population. Okay, the county city planning commission, every 10-year census, they have to come and make a proposal to city council, county commission on where the populations are, and draw boundaries. Even though when I was on county commission, you had county commission drew their own boundaries, but they draw the map, they draw the boundary, and it has to be equally divided, okay, according to the census. That's number one. Number two is, I would say that District 5 is very diverse from this standpoint in terms of race, gender, history, wealth. Okay, I think along those lines you have a lot of diversity. Channel Side, Water Street, I would say on the upper end are being pretty wealthy. Sulphur Springs, Jackson Heights, you're talking about low income. People who barely make minimum wage. So you have a diverse there. I think it's important for us to recognize that every citizen in Tampa need to be able to have a good quality of life and be able to make a livable wage. Okay, we need to make sure that those who are doing well in Channel Side and Water Street, where they are more or less walk to their jobs, it's a walkable community, versus Sulphur Springs or Jackson Heights, which is completely different. You have to catch the bus, So we have to make sure that their need and their quality of life is just as equal as those who live on Water Street and Channel Side. In other words, the quality of life is what is the issue for people who live in Jackson Heights, Sulphur Spring, Belmont Heights, and those areas. And so as a city council person, it's my responsibility to represent the poorest of the poor and the rich of the richest. Channelside need green space. I'm advocating for green space because that's what their need is. Okay, Water Street, Sulphur Springs need housing, grocery stores, livable wages, small businesses enhancement. So I'm gonna advocate for that. So it's different in each section of District 5, but yet every section is unique, and you can represent them. Ybor City is a historic district, okay, and we need to make sure that Ybor City keeps its history.
And then I'll start with you, Naya, and I'll ask you both the same question. Specifically, like Tom just said, right? I mean, the diversity is so apparent in District 5, and it is your role to be the representative of that district and really the city as a whole. Specifically, though, how do you plan to hear the wealthiest individuals and the least fortunate individuals in District 5? Is it neighborhood meetings? How do you plan to address that?
I think neighborhood meetings, going to the neighborhood association meetings, if you can't make them, at least spending time with the president. What was voiced, what was talked about, having different forums. I talk about having at one of the forums that we went to, and I had the idea of just having a group of of my youth again, but youth to me is all the way up to like 35. Having a group that I meet with maybe once a month or once every 2 months. What are you seeing? What in terms of housing, in terms of job, in terms of just recreation, things to do. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? And just I think just talking with everybody. Part of being a good leader is being able to be a good listener first and hearing people out, and that's also how you build strong neighborhoods, one that people feel like they're actually being listened to, and not you're just sitting there, oh, okay, great, and then you walk out the door. Like you're actually listening. Okay, I'm going to go back to the drawing board and see how can I address this. What can I do to kind of alleviate this? How can we help this neighborhood? Because District 5 again is large, and like just Scott was saying, everybody's needs are different. Everyone's needs are different, and we have to be sure that we are addressing everybody's needs, and that you don't feel like you're neglecting. I grew up in my family. There's 4 of us, and you understand at one point, one child may need something a little bit more at the time than the other one does, and we all know that because we're a family, and we get that, and then okay, that needs been addressed. Now, okay, we need to rally behind this one. He needs some assistance, and so that's why I talk about collaboration and working together, because we have to understand that we can't operate in silos. We are District 5. We are all together, and we have to understand at some point one of us is going to need a little bit more assistance than the other, or another, or 2 may need a little bit more assistance than the others, and we have to be on board, say, okay, how do we help our neighbor? How do we help this part of District 5? Because ultimately it's going to help all of us. It's going to help all of us, because we'll all be able to go now to this area because there's housing, because there's places to go, because there's businesses, and I don't have to stay in my one place. I can go all throughout District 5.
And Tom, how do you plan on reaching the people of District 5 from the most fortunate to the least fortunate?
Well, my experience has taught me, being on the county commission, one, what I did regular was have community meetings. Every part, and you got to understand, as a county commission, District 3 was larger than the city of Tampa. Okay, that one district, remember, they were larger than the city of Tampa. Okay, so I had regular community meetings throughout District 3, and almost every month I was in some area of District 3. So my experience taught me to go where the people are. So that they don't have to come downtown. I go where they are, listen to what they need, and I always would take my aides with me. County commission, we had 2 aides, and of course you can also request staff, because it's a little different than the city government. But anyway, we had staff there so that we could acknowledge what the issues are, the problems are, document them, and then we'll go back and address what those problems are from my office. Take them to the board to address policy issues. Okay. Also, not only did we have, I would have community meetings, but also again bringing city council. See, not only just my voice, because you got to keep in mind, which you're going to talk about a little later on, but there are 4 city council people that represent District 5, a single member district, and 4 at large represent District 5. And so we can bring city council meeting into the community, into District 5, so that people would not have to go downtown or come downtown. And so they are there with the city, all the city council, listen to their concerns and their issues and their problems. The other area is, again, creating this citizen advisory academy, whereby it will give them an opportunity to learn more about city government, how it operates, how to function, and how to access it. I think is very important to help, especially in neighborhoods that are underserved.
And I wanna add too also, because I've worked in nonprofit. I would also, and I mentioned this at another forum, just meeting with the nonprofits, because nonprofits help to address needs in communities, especially our communities that have the most needs. They, especially our grassroots, they do a lot of on the ground work, and so they see a lot. And so what you may, the people that we may speak with at our forums, or if we have our community meetings, they may not be able to attend, because I can tell you, working in nonprofit, I can't get to everything, because it's like, am I going to go to this, or I'm going to help this family at this time? And so I think also meeting with, having either it's a community group or something with the nonprofits in the area, because they'll be able to also give you, like, data, or we had this many children that came in this week, or this many have moved out, that, or we have this many families that that are in need of this type of assistance. And so they can also give you from a ground level of what's happening in that community. And then also, again, meeting with your seniors in the area. Well, what's their quality of life? How are they doing? Because also especially if they lived in communities for a long time, so they can tell you what changes that they're seeing. So I want to add that part in there too, because if you're going to address everybody's needs, from the highest to to people who need the most assistance, you have to go to people that are providing services to them, because they'll be able to give you more insight.
One of the things I want to point out too is all of the CRAs, community redevelopment areas, on state law, have to do a study and do a whole research piece and update their plan. There's a plan that says, here's where money is going, here's how it's going to be spent, here's what the needs are. That plan has to be updated. I think East Tampa right now, theirs is 80% complete, being updated. Okay, so you have to update those plans, like every 8 to 10 years, because usually CRA is 30-year time, and East Tampa has 8 years left on his term limit. So there's the resources there that tell you already what the needs are. There's the resources there to say how this money is going to be spent and how it can be addressed. So you have there a plan development or study already done by the CRA that can help you with touching people in the area.
On transportation, Naya, you tapped this a little bit. We spoke about the 50 miles of track we used to have. We didn't mention it a lot during the affordable housing part of this conversation, but transportation is completely connected to affordable
Absolutely.
housing. District 5 really represents, air quote, the city, right? Traditionally, this was the city of Tampa, this urban core here. This is where the most density will be. This is, one day where we're going to have probably most of the people living, right? I mean, we are evolving into sort of a, air quote, real city, right? Part of that comes with the transportation plan. And right now there's news like the state trying to get rid of HART and then the Tampa Transit Authority potentially forming. Naya, I'll start with you on the streetcar specifically, and then feel free to expand on other modes of transportation. What are your thoughts on the initial extension of the streetcar, which is sort of in planning, your sort of thoughts on that, and then B, expanding beyond that, not just streetcar, but transportation in general in District 5.
Yeah, you were right. Transportation and affordable housing go hand in hand. If I can eliminate your car costs, which can be, depending on what kind of car you have, anywhere from $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 a year. Because I'm able to get you from point A to point B without having to use your car, you're already saving money. You're already saving money. One of my best friends lives in New York, and she just got her license. She hasn't but she hasn't needed a car, and that's not to say we need to be like New York. I definitely not that, but it's the fact that the option is there. The option is there. She has not needed to get a car because she can get from anywhere. I used to live in DC. I had a car when I went there, but I ended up getting into an accident, but it was okay. I didn't need it. If I needed to get into the city, there was a bus that was coming every, in the mornings, it's like every 10, 15 minutes. In the afternoons, and maybe went down to 30 minutes. And if you needed to go out into the county, you could drive your car if you wanted to the train station. It'll take you out to the county, or you could just take the trains and it'll take you to where you need to go. You have so many people that there, and here's the thing, options. If you would like to have your car, fantastic. But it shouldn't be that if I don't have a car, I am down bad. I can't get anywhere. That is the issue. And if we're going to continue to grow and say we're turning into this great city, how can you be a great city and you can't get people from point A to point B safely and in a timely fashion? There's no reason why years ago, before the buses have increased tremendously. My brother, before he got a car, when he would go to work, he would have to be at work at like 9, but he's waking up at like 5, 6 a.m. to catch the bus. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. So if we're talking about connectivity, we're housing, all of these things are connected. If Tampa is going to grow. That's just going to happen, and that's okay. Growth is fine. Development is fine. But how you go about doing it is what is important. How you go about doing it. What kinds of housing are you having to make sure that you are providing for everyone? How are you getting people from point A to point B? If you're going to say, we're going to have, you don't necessarily need your car. We want to increase, transportation. We want to, have cars off of the road. Well, then you need to make it so that people can get to where they need to get to in a timely fashion and that it's safe. So you can't do, they're hand in hand. You can't do one without the other.
I think when you add in,
did I answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah. It's specific about transportation, streetcar, and in general. But yeah, I mean, when you add up a car payment and insurance,
yes,
and you add that to a lifestyle,
yes,
now your options for housing become more slim. Tom, specifically on transportation in District 5, extending the streetcar, that probably will be a vote one of you will have to make, and then airport CEOs talked about downtown to airport, light rail, et cetera. Tom, how are you going to address transportation in District 5?
Experience again, the Committee of 99, which I was on. You probably were not around at the time. Committee of 99 with 99 people on it, which I was on the board of county commission to address transportation. 99, 2000, I went to Charlotte, went to St. Louis, several other places that I went to look at light rail. Transportation was an issue in 96.
Yeah.
Transportation is an issue today, 2025. Affordable housing was an issue in 96, and affordable housing is an issue today. Public safety was an issue in 96, and public safety is an issue today. Okay, and just imagine we have grown since then. Okay, I voted for extending the streetcar when I was on county commission. We gave funding for it back then. The city increased the funding. They were getting federal dollars. Back then, they still continue to need it. As I said not too long ago, there's no public transportation in North America that is not subsidized, okay? That is profitable on its own. It has to have public funding, okay? As you very well know, that the sales tax that was approved by the voters got struck down by the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court. On a technicality, which in my opinion, the voters approved that. The voters did. But there was a suit that came from the Hillsborough County Commission They're overturned because the Supreme Court ruled in their favor. The voters voted for that penny tax to address transportation. Okay? Now, going back to 99, we've been having the issue of transportation. Light rail was on the table, 99. 2009 or 10, President Obama brought $2 billion check of taxpayer dollars, which we are donor state, of our money to help us with high-speed rail from Orlando to Tampa. Governor Rick Scott refused it, turned it back way, and he ended up going to California and Seattle, all these other places. But money that should have come here would have addressed transportation. Okay? Meaning, again, we still having to deal with transportation. Now, let me just say this. Hart does not run frequent enough for people ready to get their job. They do all right, doing much better. But you need buses running every 15 minutes. You need buses running every 15 minutes. And that is not the case, okay? The trolley, hey, I'm for extending it, whatever we need to do. But again, you're not going to get rid of cars until you get light rail and then also high speed from Orlando to Tampa, Tampa to Orlando.
I'm glad you brought that up because I remember it. And think about it. Every time my husband and I get on the road to go to an Orlando Magic game, we just sit in the car and go, oh, how awesome would it have been? Oh my goodness. I'm like, man, and it's like one of those things where if you want to go to a game, you're leaving at like 9 a.m. and just stay in Orlando for the day. But I want to add, I think that's why now is a time where we ought to be thinking about different ways to do things, because if something has been an issue since 96 and we're in 2025, it's like how are we progressing? And it's not necessarily like a solution, but I think it begs the question, like, if it's been an issue for so long, how are we alleviating or fixing it a little bit? Are we chipping away at it at all? If something's been an issue for that long, how are we addressing it now? Maybe it's time for us to look at transportation in a different light. Maybe it's time for us to look at it differently, because we don't want it to be an issue, continue to be issues in 2040. I mean, because it's like, wow, we've been from 96 to 2040 and we still have transportation issues, but we're calling ourselves a great city. Something's not adding up.
But again, it is an issue because, again, we have grown. We have not had the funding to do it on our own, just like what the county commission trying to do now. So you tell me how you're going to fund transportation once if that passed, which is a special act, which means they have to do away with the special act, repeal the special act, in order for Tampa now to take control of the Tampa bus line or system or Heart line. It definitely would not make it, because it cannot live just off the revenue of the city. The Heart has to have additional funding, okay? That's an issue that the citizens have to address from the standpoint of revenue, whether they want to tax themselves to fund Heartline, which they do already pay a tax in terms of property tax, but further in terms of light rail and high-speed rail. Now, you do know high-speed rail is talking about from bringing the private sector here, talking about doing it, but they already
Brightline.
They're half $1 billion in the red. So we don't know when that's going to happen. Okay, so again, these are issues because of growth. Just think about it. Because of growth. I mean, affordable housing has been an issue for years. They just started. I just said today, even if we do 10,000 new units by the time the current mayor go off, you still got 20,000 people that's waiting.
And then to dig in on some specific neighborhoods. We're talking about the diversity of District 5. We went on a little transportation tangent, but we had to, you know?
Yeah, you raised it.
And by the way, like the whole Rick Scott thing, and even Jeb Bush, and even before him, you know, that $2 billion, right? Now, what does it cost? 4 or 5 billion?
Yeah.
It's only
Yeah.
getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Specifically, let's talk real quick about two neighborhoods that I get a lot of messages about on our platform. Palmetto Beach. Where's that laser pointer? Just so we're clear. You have it over there? David, just circle the mouse around Palmetto Beach, that pocket. Do you know where it is, David? Pull it up. It's right on the east side of 301 where the port is. You know, it's on the east side of the causeway, right on McKay Bay. A lot of history in that neighborhood. And by the way, beautiful, like brick lined streets. There used to be a trolley station there, beautiful park. It's all on the waterfront. There's a lot of private sector excitement and residents that have emailed me and said, hey, can you talk right here, Palmetto Beach? Hey, can you talk about Palmetto Beach? We feel neglected down here. And I wanna highlight Palmetto Beach, and then I want to talk specifics about Sulphur Springs too, because that's another area. A lot of people are talking about, hey, we need some love up here. Naya, we can start with you on this. For Palmetto Beach, you know, start off talking about Palmetto Beach, and then we'll move on to Sulphur Springs. But with Palmetto Beach, one of the issues here is that it's a very low area. So you do have that coastal high hazard issue where, you know, you can't just go in and sort of build a house. It's going to cost you extra money to lift it up to the floodplain, et cetera. What are your thoughts on helping out Palmetto Beach so that they can get what they need and grow and develop in an appropriate way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like I was saying earlier. Each neighborhood has their different needs, and we have my job, you know, as city council is to address the needs of each area in District 5. Everybody has different needs. So I think we just start having, you know, the conversation with the community. What are the needs? And, you know, and I hear like some are, you know, for the, you know, want more development or want more density, some are not. But we have to sit down and have that conversation first and see what are the options, and also making sure that we're not, you know, making a, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, oh, we've made a grave mistake with what we've done, because decisions that we make, some of them could be, you know, pretty permanent. So I think it's, you know, worth just having the conversation and seeing what is possible, what can we do in that area so that we can address the needs, but also make sure we're, again, preserving the history of the community, and also making sure, because we live in this place where we get lots of hurricanes, and so we want to be sure that Palmetto Beach stays Palmetto Beach.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, David, you can see just where Palmetto Beach is positioned. That's where all that water collects in that area. So they have issues that probably are outside city control. Certainly, there's some resiliency.
Well, they're right on that water there, man. You know,
right there.
So,
But Tom,
and that wall is not high enough. But
Tom, your thoughts on Palmetto Beach? You know, getting them what they need to thrive.
Yeah. Well, I spent several years volunteer at DeSoto Elementary School, which is down there, and you got a beautiful park down there. It's a very nice area, very nice community. Again, that's where we, in terms of density, you got the planning commission that's doing that complete study, and all that now has to be addressed. That's number one. Number two is livable wage. You got a strong Hispanic population in that area. And again, you got to talk about livable wage, you know, to take care of themselves in that community, in that neighborhood, and the type of development that you want there. I spent a day just going through that community not too long ago, looking at what was down there, riding through there, getting out, talking to a few of the people and that sort of thing. So it is an area that needs to be addressed. Unfortunate, as I told Sulphur Springs the other week, the state want to do away with CRAs, community redevelopment area. In fact, they were trying to get rid of them this past legislative session. So I'm not sure that they'll be able to get a CRA in Sulphur Springs or in the Palmetto Beach area. But right now we have 8 CRAs in the city of Tampa. And again, East Tampa is expiring in 8 years. And so it would have been good to look at Palmetto Beach and Sulphur Springs in terms of getting help. CRAs have been very beneficial for Tampa Heights. Tampa Heights used to be a lot of blight to Naya, but they are now, you almost can't afford to live in Tampa Heights. I mean, a household there, man, almost $1 million.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost $1 million. I can't afford to live over there.
It's
It's,
very
it's amazing, really.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but again, the CRA, the redevelopment that came in there, redeveloped the whole area. Channel side, man, it was nothing on channel
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
CRA came in. Look at it now, okay? Ybor City
Yeah.
had gone down. Everybody had pretty much left Ybor City, Silver Ring, and all those, restaurants. But look at it now; it's a thriving area, And so CRAs have been the life to a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of community, and unfortunate. We may not be able to see any more CRAs because the legislature talking about doing what they was trying to get it done. They couldn't get it through this last session, but my bet is they probably going to try to get it through this legislative session. But they need the help. They need the help. Again, you're talking about a lot of blight, a lot of empty houses, abandoned houses that's boarded up, that sort of thing.
And so, Tom, I'll ask you directly and then switch to Naya. Do you support adding a CRA in Sulphur Springs?
Oh yes, man. That's why I said they need one.
Right.
The problem going to be is the legislature.
And then Naya, do you support a CRA in Sulphur Springs?
If it could happen.
If it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then David, go to Sulphur Springs real quick and put the little man down I call it downtown Sulphur Springs. And really that's what it is. I mean, they had businesses, there's a theater.
Right.
You know where it is, David, on Nebraska Avenue. Yeah. So zoom in, go south, right on the river. And here's my question, Naya, we can start with you. Zoom in straight there and put that little man down there. We've talked in this conversation about linking people, right? And if you don't have a lot of means and you live in Sulphur Springs, but you work downtown, boy, that's going to be a challenge getting there.
Right. That's right.
I want to ask you, Naya, about some of the entitlements and maybe some densification of this specific area. I'm not talking about the whole neighborhood, but do you support increased development in this downtown area, increasing density so that Sulphur Springs could have its own sort of downtown area?
So when I was doing some work, in Sulphur Springs, I think there was a lot of community that did support that because right now, Sulphur Springs is going through their neighborhood action plan,
Right.
and so I think that's going to be one way that we can really get to see exactly what community wants. And they are really, pressing and making sure that community is really involved in that process because that, as a council, that's going to help us inform the decisions that we're going to make for Sulphur Springs because we can go back to that document and say, well, that's not what community said they wanted, but this is what community said they wanted. And so when I was doing some work in the area, there was a lot of community members that I do believe did want that kind of development. Again, I'm always going to want to talk to the people first that live in the area because it's not about what I want. It's about what they need. And if that is what comes to me at council, then yes, then we will support that. But at the very top, it's always going to be what the people within the area need.
Tom, do you
But see,
support?
that's where we have to understand though when we start talking about redevelopment. See, with redevelopment, there are certain good things come with there, some things that are not. Okay, so even though they may not want certain things, you got to say, okay, how do we make this community live? How do we keep this community thriving? Okay, they're doing the study now. They already have an input. Jackie Coffee Leeds is working with them right now, doing a study for Sulphur Springs as to what they want in that community. That study would tell us, and at that point, we can look at that study and say what kind of development, where it needs to be, and what needs to happen. And by the way, every CRA before it's developed, you have to draw the boundary, and you have to have a plan. You have to come back with a plan as to what's going to take place. By the way, so that plan will tell you from the study of meeting with all the rest. There are community meetings that have been going on. That's community meeting going on now, and they can have input and say so on what they want Sulphur Spring to look like. And so once that plan comes, it tells you. And so, I mean, when you look at that, right across the street from here is the dog track.
Yep.
And that's a lot of land there, man.
Yeah.
So the community has to say, we're tired of all the blight.
Mm-hmm.
We're tired of all the transients, okay, in the area. And so we have to find a way how to address their concerns and issues through this plan, through this study, and so that there is a community that they can survive and thrive and do well. It's a quality of life issue.
Yeah.
It's quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then specifically too, right, with this area, I think we all imagine some level of density is a good thing, but it's a double-edged sword too, because then it brings up the conversation we had earlier.
Yep.
You know, if
Yep.
so zoom back out, David.
That's right.
Like you said, Tom, you know, there's a lot of available space for development.
Yes, sir.
Now we've talked about this too, where developers, you know, they got dollar signs in their eyes, and if you let them run with it, that is going to go against everything we've talked about today regarding gentrification.
Exactly.
So you've both said that it's a community-driven conversation, how to develop Sulphur Springs.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, just, you know, working in Sulphur Springs, community wants I mean, because, and if you look at the history of Sulphur Springs, at one point it was just really thriving, you know, and there's a neighborhood, and there's a lot of history in Sulphur Springs as well. And so you have a lot of community and residents who have, you know, been there for years, who want to see the area be revitalized. But again, like I was saying in the beginning, it's how you go about doing things. Of course, there's going to be good and bad with everything, but if we remain transparent, and if we make sure that at the end of the day, what we're doing is for people. We're not doing this for the developers. We're not doing it for, you know, corporate. No, it's for people. People live, work, and play in these areas, and we owe it to them to make sure that if we are enhancing a neighborhood or that we are revitalizing their neighborhood, it's a place that they still feel welcome, and not like, you know, where I can't live here anymore. That, I think that for me is important. It's always about people. It's always about people for me. Yeah.
Anything to add, Tom? On that?
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. That's why over the, you know, my 14 years in the legislator or elected official, you know, I always met with people, had dialogue with people. In fact, I always met with anybody who wanted to talk.
Sure.
You know, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you know, if we're going to make this neighborhood better, if we want to make the community better, you also got to bring in developers to sit down at the table and have a conversation, because they are the one with the money. But at the same time, the community can be at the table as well and say, okay, we want. That's why the study's being done. The study's going to tell you what the people want.
We'll have to track that.
Yeah.
What's I saw
It's
something.
it's a Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action Plan.
And Jackie Coffee Leaks is heading that up.
So they're currently in the second phase of it. So the first phase is done. They're in the second phase where they are taking pretty much all the community input. So there was a survey, a bunch of community meetings that happened. So now they're taking all that information, doing like a draft plan that's going to go back to the community for more input. So they're should be in the second phase right now.
I was driving through on Saturday, and I couldn't help but notice some of the beauty of the area too, like some of the large oak trees and the hilly streets.
And they have huge. I mean, the green spaces,
right.
the parks.
Yep.
You know, you have the river. I mean, it's really, really beautiful, and the community really wants to revitalize all of these spaces. And I'll also add this: and this is where a conversation comes into play. You have a lot of, I believe that there are some developers that really want to do good work and do work by people. And I think that's also important. And that's when you sit down, like we were saying, having the conversation with developers in the community. What are your values? What are your intentions in what it is that you are doing? Having that conversation, because there are a lot of people. Oh yeah, thank you. There are a lot of, developers that really want to do good work and want to provide housing and want to help neighborhoods. And those are, we want to engage those and then have those conversations with them.
That's right. Yeah, medium home value, 264,000. And we've talked earlier about, some of the elderly folks that have bought in there and they've lived there for 30 or 40 years. They didn't pay near that, right?
Oh no.
Not at all.
No. Oh, no.
Not at all.
And scroll up, David. Go down a little bit. What was that map? Scroll down a little bit. What's this here? No. One more down. Socioeconomic. Okay. So this is about, this is income level. They've sort of
Yes.
broken down each property.
Yeah.
So this is good. This is great news. So they are going to get a detailed analysis of the who and what,
Yep.
income level, what does the community hope to see here? This is a good thing. We'll have to follow up on this. Really interesting. But this neighborhood will be a huge discussion, right, on council moving forward. So let's move on to the next topic. And we've talked a little bit about this. Hey, 4 votes to approve anything, right? You are not the mayor. You are a part of Tampa City Council. You operate as a body of 7. And we're going to go back to you, Tom. You mentioned, we've had these same issues for 30 years. On council, you've got to get 3 other people to work with you to pass these initiatives. How effective can the seat be if it takes 4 votes to accomplish anything? And how do you plan on bringing people together, your other council members, to accomplish policy?
Well, again, I mentioned earlier my experience serving on city council before, so I have a relationship with some of them now. Charlie Miranda's still there, and so I know most all the council persons, and in fact, I've been having a conversation with them about the budget and so forth. My experience as a chairman of the board with county commission, and so my experience, my leadership, will give me the experience to be able to get the 3 other votes, primarily because, again, District 5 has 5 city council representatives, 5. Okay, 3 at large, and 1 single member district that they vote on. And so my experience, being able to build a coalition, and knowing how to count 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you need. If you can't get 3 other people to vote with you, then you certainly will have a problem. But my experience has taught me how to be able to compromise when need to be compromised, how to negotiate when need to negotiate, and how to build a coalition. That is my strength as a leader, and we've done that in the past. In fact, when I went to city council from the county commission, city council used to meet every Thursday, every regular meeting every Thursday, all day long, sometime 2:00 in the morning. My experience was, let's change a few things here. Let's be smarter. So now they still follow. I've been gone since 2011. First and third Thursday is their regular board meetings. Second Thursday is a CRA meeting. Their CRA meeting used to last 15 minutes. 15 minutes before the regular board meeting when I first went over there. That's all it was, 15 minutes. Now it lasts pretty much, almost half a day. Why? Because you have now more involvement from them as a result of that change. Say, hey, you guys, you have the authority, not just the mayor on this, because CRA is according to the Florida statute is in the hands of the CRA board agency, which is the city council. Now they have an interlocal agreement with the mayor, who staffs it and all that, but all that money for staff is coming out of CRA money. And so my experience, understanding how city council work, how the CRA work, my experience building a coalition, my experience as a leader, okay, on the board and in the community, and the respect that I bring to the board, I have no doubt that we'll be able to get 3 other votes as we've done in the past.
And Naya, how do you plan on working with your colleagues on council to advance these agendas and policies?
Again, collaboration, collaboratively. And I think that, all the council members, we are in agreement that we want to do what's right for people. And I always say, if we can find one, we may not agree on everything, but if we can find one common thing to agree on, then I can work with that. And we know that we want to do best by the people, by the citizens that are within our district. And so also building the relationships. We know Right now is the only time where you can, talk with the council members, because after that, there is no conversation unless you're on the dais. So, having that, building that relationship, or, talking with the council members, what are they passionate about? So you can kind of get an idea of when things come up, they may or may not vote yes or no on. You kind of have an idea, okay, they are passionate about this. We know that this is something that they really care about. And I think that can kind of help when it comes to, time for voting. And again, common goals and values. We are here to serve the people. And I think as long as we can agree on that, and we want to do what's best, because we don't, go to city council meeting and then we fly to another state. We still have to live here. So decisions that we make not only affect the people on the dais, but not only affect the people in the community, but it affects us too. And so we want to be sure we're making the right decisions.
And then digging deeper, because because you are not a citywide council member, right? You represent a district, but then you also are voting on things citywide. How do you balance those two things?
I think it's the same. I think it's still the same thing. We are tasked with making the hard decision, but at the end of the day, we have one common goal. We want to do what's best for the city. We want to do what's best for people. And if you can kind of have an idea of what those council members, what we know they're passionate about, or things that we know for sure that they're going to vote for, then you can kind of have an idea, like, okay, I know this is something I think they can get behind. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we need to understand. One is I can talk to city council about anything except for anything that we're going to vote on. That's the Sunshine Law.
Yep.
Sunshine Law.
That was going to be the next topic. Yes, sir.
Sunshine Law said that we cannot talk about anything that's going to be on the agenda. Any other thing we can talk about, we can go to lunch if we want to.
Yeah.
You can ride in the car with me as long as we don't discuss something that's coming up on the agenda. That's number one. Number two is, just because I'm on city council, there are heated discussions. If you don't believe me, you watch the current city council. There are heated discussions on city council. There are meetings where neighborhoods come in that are divided on issues. So it's not going to be what you want as a city council. It's what you got to make a decision as an individual council person. What's going to be your best decision based on the evidence before you. Okay? And there are some neighborhoods that are heavily divided and strong. Okay? And so we need not think that when you go on city council, it's like you sitting down and eating ice cream and cake to get to know somebody. There are sometimes there's been some tension in those meetings. And in regards to, because even though I am a single member district representative, I get to vote on every item regarding the city, whether it be for the Tampa Bay Rays, the Buccaneers, the Lightning, every issue that comes before city council, I, as a single member district, vote on that issue.
And now I'll go back to you on Sunshine, because you've got to have these discussions out in the open.
Absolutely, yeah. And I definitely wouldn't be eating ice cream and cake. My trainer would not like that. But I think also, again, that's like we were talking about. Knowing how to compromise, knowing how to talk to people. There are going to be heated discussions, but ultimately, I mean, we have been tasked with having to make the decisions for the city. And that, there's going to be debate, there's going to be, heated conversation. But I think as long as, our constituents come and, make that we're meeting with our constituents, that we get all the information that we could possibly use and need so that we can make informed decisions. And then you go with whatever is from what you feel is going to be the best, and you vote on that. That's what I think.
Yeah, you will have the opportunity to hear from both, but at the end of the day, you've got to
it's up to you. Yeah, you have to make the decision.
Well, my decisions are based on my values and my convictions. There are certain principles and values that I have always had, that I've used throughout my career as elected officials. There are certain values, there are certain convictions that I lean on, and that I trust.
I've said I'm for people. I'm always going to make the best decision that I can for people, always. So I think that's one of my, one of the, in my opinion, one of the great things about me, the fact that I haven't been on council before. So I'm going in, as a person who's lived in the community and had, experiences. I'm not, affordable housing affects me too. Transportation affects me too. Gentrification affects me too. Small business, all of those things. So I'm coming into it as someone who has experienced the same things that are going to come to council. And at the end of the day, like we were saying, your values. I know what my values are. And I know that I'm here to do right by people, and at the end of the day, my decision, after getting all of the facts from both sides, from all, on whatever it is that we're voting on, then I'm going to make sure but what are my values? And then I make the best decision.
Okay, last topic, everybody, historic preservation.
Yeah.
This one's, I believe, super important. And
Yes.
then David, and either one of you can chime in if you know. Do you know if that Sulphur Springs theater, is that a historically designated building?
I don't.
We might be guessing if that's something you could pull up.
I don't remember. I know
Sure.
that there's a gentleman and his wife that are working on
Yes.
it.
Right.
Totally out of pocket, I think. And I had an opportunity to look inside to
Oh, you
see
did?
what
Cool.
they've done so far. And I mean, they're really working on
Yeah.
it. They're really working on it. But I don't know. I don't remember if it's designated historic or not.
It might not
It's
be.
very cool inside.
We
though.
would be all shocked, and you probably know, both of you probably know, some of these beautiful buildings are not
And
designated and
yeah.
they're not
Right,
protected.
that's
Yeah,
right.
the space that where I work, Tampa Heights Union Civic Association, the building, it's over 100 years old, but
Wow,
it is
yeah.
it's not historic,
See?
and it's
You have to apply for it. A
yeah,
lot
Right.
of times, nobody. If you don't apply for it and ask for it, then you don't get it. But when you apply for it, more than likely you can get it, especially when it's that old.
yeah,
Does not currently hold historical designation. Wow, so we're a little extra thankful that that couple is going in there and rehabilitating that building. But go back to the map, David, because District 5 contains some of our most treasured, iconic, historic buildings, including, all the buildings in Ybor City, that Sulphur Springs Theater. How about the Jackson House, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you've got these amazing historic properties, and Tampa has lost so many of them. If you look at old pictures, we had 5 times the amount of historic properties.
Yeah.
And this whole conversation, I feel like these issues are amplified by demand. We've talked a lot about demand moving to the area today. This only puts more pressure on these historic properties. Jackson House has needed help for a long time. Tom, that's been going on for, Let's talk right now. I'll bring it back to you first, Naya. The pressures on historic preservation are really, really high. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of buildings come down. That First Watch building in downtown was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, I know it had some issues. The developer took it down. On council, because council's the legislative body of the city, there's tools that can be within that body to protect these buildings. Talk to me about that. How do you feel about council working together to protect some of these structures, so many that have been lost?
Again, we were talking earlier about, removing red tape. We were talking, you have to apply to,
Right.
to be a historic destination. There's some, communities where if you want to, stay in a historic neighborhood, you have to have these certain windows, but they're expensive. So removing those barriers so that we can continue, so that we can keep our historic spaces. History tells stories. History tells stories, and I think that's what makes cities and places, or even if you go overseas, it's what makes it unique. People go specifically to other countries and other cities to see a place that's been there for over 100 years. It tells a story of the area which you are in, and a lot of times you may have family, that were there when it was built, or that at least to live in the house, so they can come back and tell you about what happened in that space. So we have to remove the red tape, make it easier, so that we can continue to hold on to our historic spaces. I think, good a development is a good mixture of your culture and history with a little bit of modernity. Like it brings everything together. And who I've just when you're I just find it so intriguing, and it just makes a place so unique when you're able to see a place that's been somewhere for 100 years. Again, I think about the space that I work in. There was a gentleman who now lives in St. Pete. But his father used to be a pastor there, and I think he was maybe about in his 70s, and so he came back and brought us some original real wooden tables that used to be in the church.
Wow.
And so we have them in there now. But I mean, it's just, and history doesn't just tell stories. It also helps to bring people together and to connect. Because I never would have met this guy if he just, he was in Tampa and decided to drive by and even see if the building was still there. And we walked through and he was like, yeah, the pews used to be here. Children's church was here. This was over here. So it's how you also connect with people. So we're talking about earlier, how do you, address, with the gentrification and the needs of all District 5, bringing people together in these historic spaces. I think it's all interconnected. All of these things work in tandem with each other, and that's how we build a strong District 5. That's how you build the strong neighborhoods and protecting the history that is within those spaces.
Can I dig deeper a little, Naya? And then we'll go to you, Tom. So less red tape. There absolutely will be projects that come before council, just like the Sulphur Springs Theater, where on one side of it, we can't let this beautiful building with so much history, nothing is done. It just decays, and totally falls apart, and then you can't even save it, like the Jackson House, right, is a great example of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then you also, Naya, you mentioned this, less red tape. You also have to give a little bit more flexibility potentially to developers, and like this couple you mentioned that might want to change of use and allow something on council so they can make money, right? No one's going to go renovate one of these projects to lose money. When you say less red tape, does that mean you support policies that could increase development rights for historic properties so that they can be preserved?
I would say, because I don't want to say a yes or a no.
Sure. That's why we got time today, right?
That would not yes or no. Again, I want to talk with the community first. As it could be as cliche or as bubblegum as it is. I don't really care.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want to hear what people have to say first, because especially there are people in communities that have been there 50 plus years, and some of their children have been there after them. I think that sometimes we get away from things are going to happen. It's going to happen, and we forget about people. And I can't. I don't mind. I will keep my heads in the clouds about that. At the end of the day, we have to talk with community and people. And if it's a situation where, we would love to have this, turned into this, or even if you have some people that are on the fence about it, why not have a developer talk with the community and say, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We could do this. The benefit to the community could be this and this.
Right.
That's conversation.
Yeah.
So many things can be resolved with conversation. We just sit down and have a talk about it. And so that's how I would approach it.
And Tom, just to sort of like re-ask the question, you have these projects come up where maybe the neighborhood, hey, we don't want that use in our neighborhood, but then you've got this historic building falling apart. And oftentimes in order to make the numbers work for a developer, they need a little bit of extra incentive to get that done.
And if I wish we could have put that picture. That theater is a historic building.
Pull up old Google images of that.
That's a historic building.
It's a gem.
And it's really inside.
So what we have to do is, number one, preserve that. I don't care what we say. And if you have developers, a lot of times developers would do pretty much, if they still can make money, they would do what you pretty much want them to do. I want to preserve that.
Yeah.
Why? That's a historic site. So why not make sure that's part of the development agreement that theater is preserved. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
All right. I was in the Central Southern Yard building yesterday when we was honoring Lieutenant Lopez. I don't know if you're familiar with that yesterday. and all the folk were there. That's a historic building.
Yeah.
That's a gem.
Right.
And so my position is that we have to preserve these historical sites and these historical buildings and historical character. All right. If you go to Ybor City, you tear all that down Ybor City, that's no longer Ybor City for as I'm
Exactly.
concerned.
Yep.
So therefore, you have to preserve the character and those buildings that are there in Ybor City. Okay. With the historical building come the culture, because if you tear that down, then you're also destroying the culture. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I think that's important for us to preserve those historic buildings, those historic sites, at the same time preserve the culture. It's sad that the Jackson House has gotten in the condition
Right.
Yes.
that is in.
Yeah.
I mean, which is a historical building. It's been moved from where it was to where it is now, and been falling apart. And it was falling apart the other day. I think they finally got somebody who's going to
Yeah.
put some money into it, you know. But it should not have gotten to that.
Let's stay on the Jackson House, Tom, and then I'll go to you, Naya. What's the plan for the Jackson House? This thing needs to get done. You know,
Well, you
something
have
needs
a
to move.
foundation, you have a board that oversees it. They have input into it. And then originally they needed more space where they are located now. I think they need like 5 feet or
Right.
10 feet or something like that. And that was a whole issue there with that, so they couldn't get through that. And then, of course, you know, if the wind came through, blowing parts off of it. So there's the board then you got the city involved with it, you know, and so forth.
Because this is not just Black history. This is American
American
history. I
history,
mean, this is a
yeah.
big deal for people that don't understand the Jackson House is.
Yeah. Well, when you look at that, you know, this is where, you know, back in the day during segregation, this is where Black folk came and stayed and lived and all that sort of thing.
Big names too. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so everyone can look at this picture here at the condition. It's basically deteriorated
Right.
since then. Naya, I'll move to you. Your sort of vision for the Jackson House, should it be rebuilt as is? Do you believe it should be moved?
I would. Well, one, we need to know what exactly is at this point is salvageable.
Sure. Right.
How, what does that process even look like? So I think we really need to talk with the board that is over this project and the developer that they have for it to tell us what can we actually salvage from this, because it's a crime that it has gotten to the point that it's in. But if that's where that would be my biggest question. What can we actually salvage? Is it a are we taking have to take pieces and incorporate it into the new design? I've seen sometimes where they take the wooden pieces or maybe the chimney or different things and keep it into the design. But I would definitely have to lean on them and ask, like, what can we keep? What is salvageable at this point? What can we do to try and keep and preserve it as much as we possibly can with the state that it's in right now?
Well, if you look at the picture up there, look at this, it's a disgrace that's just allowed to get like this. That's number one. Okay. The second thing is, not only do we need to raise the question, what is it salvageable, but what is the cost going to be?
Yeah.
See, that's the other issue that you're facing at this particular point, and so that's going to be a huge issue, because then somebody going to have to come up with that money to be able to fund that and pay for that. But that's a disgrace.
So, more directly for both of you, it says here, Jeff and Penny Vinnick have donated $1 million. I know they have certain funding. I know they've got some money, and the hard conversation is, do you have to tear it down and rebuild it? And then, Naya, to your point, use those materials, because looking at it, can you rebuild it as is? That's the challenge.
Yeah.
But more directly, do you support additional city funding to go towards this? Like if the board comes back and says, hey, look, we can get this done, we need X dollars from the city. Do you support more city tax dollars going towards this project?
City tax dollars?
Mm-hmm.
I would want to hear from public about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would I have my thoughts, but again, I always want to take in consideration
Sure.
the constituents.
Sure.
Always.
You support
Yeah.
additional tax dollars
Well, the
towards this
question would
project?
be, how much you talking about in terms of tax dollar? Are we talking $5 million? Are we talking another $1 million?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
if you're talking another $1 million, I can support that. But you're talking $5-10 million,
Yeah.
hey, now we got a problem because I could use that to help Sulphur Springs.
That's a good point.
There's going to be some hard conversations about the Jackson House coming up. There
Yeah.
really is.
Oh yeah,
Because no one wants to see it in this condition,
Yeah.
but we also sort of all have to face the reality that this thing might not be able to be saved as it sits.
right.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be a big conversation.
Right.
Where are we at here? 12:57. I am right on time. Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, a little hiccup with the introduction in the beginning, but we got through it. I really appreciate you both being here.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thanks for
thank you
inviting
for stepping up and running for this office. We need good people, and so thank you both for running. I want to give you both the opportunity. Naya, we'll start with you to sort of sign off and tell people why they should vote for you.
Well, one, thank you for having me today. You know, as I've said it, you know, throughout our time here. I want to help people. I want to help communities. I've always, all my life, community service, public service has just always been at my core. It's how I've been brought up. And so I've always wanted to give back. I always have given back. And so now I want to continue to give back in a way that I can, you know, help even more people and help, you know, quality of life. I have, you know, you have your platform. You know, my youth in general, is one of my top priorities, or just, you know, something that I'm really passionate about: strong communities, economic development, and then also smart growth. But at the end of the day, what youth may be important in Sulphur Springs, but maybe it's not in another area, or economic development may be important in this area, maybe not in another area, because District 5 is large. And so I always want to be sure that I am giving communities what they need and not what I want. That's very important to me. And so I want to represent this district the best way that I can. And so I hope that I will have your vote on October 28th.
Tom Scott.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us to be here today. It's been a very healthy and good conversation. I bring a wealth of experience. I bring leadership skills and abilities. I know how to work with the community, but I also know how to work in a legislative body. I know how to listen to people, but I also know how to fight for constituencies when I need to on the board. I have the experience. 14 years of experience of representing the County Commission, District 3, and 4 years on City Council representing District 5. I bring the experience, and not only experience, but the leadership. Leadership of being elected 3 times as chairman for Tampa City Council, 3 times as chairman for Board of County Commission. Why? Because they recognized my leadership ability and skill, and they had respect for me as one of the colleagues. And so I bring a wealth of experience, a wealth of leadership, but also I bring a vision for the future. Not just my past experience, but what we can look like in the future in terms of affordable housing, in terms of economic development, in terms of transportation, in terms of infrastructure, better streets, better sidewalks, better roads, retention ponds being redone, and also better parks and recreation for our youth and our young people. And so I bring that knowledge and that experience as we look to the future for Tampa City Council. And so it's I hope that the voters recognize the importance of experience and leadership and a vision for the future. And thank you again for inviting us to come and be here with you.
Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Okay, everybody, get out and go vote. Early voting again, October 23rd to the 26th, and then the runoff election day is October 28th. So if you're in District 5, go vote.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week.